Legend has it that it was written by the Dark Ones. Necronomicon Ex Mortis.
So Evil Dead 2 starts off with a recap of what the Necronomicon is, with narration over some really cool imagery. It also mentions that the book disappeared in 1300 AD. It also does something unusual where it sort of does a recap of the first movie while retconning it at the same time. This time it's just Ash and his girlfriend, still called Linda but played by a different actress, on the way to the cabin. Scott and the other two girls are missing. Honestly, I don't miss them. At the end of the day, they were pretty much just demon fodder. Since this movie tries to pare down that story to the minimum, it's better off without them. However, they did add a couple of things. Namely that Ash plays the piano and Linda is a dancer. He has already given her the necklace, but it's mentioned that they aren't really supposed to be in that cabin.
What if the people who own this place come home?
Well, tell them that the car broke down or something like that. What do you say we have some champagne, huh, baby? Huh?
Ash hasn't even gone nuts yet and he's already hamming it up.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, they're kind of adorable. So another difference this time around is that the old-timey tape recorder and the Necronomicon is just in one of the rooms instead of hidden in the cellar. Ash plays the tape again, but there is a lot more information this time around.
I believe I have made a significant find in the castle of Kandar.
The narrator is humanized a lot more because he has a name, Professor Nobi, and it's played over flashbacks of him and his wife and daughter finding the Necronomicon in an old castle. He talks about translating the book and the incantations are spoken again.
Kanda, Estrata, Amantos.
Summoning the racing camera who promptly attacks Linda. Ash goes looking for her and finds that she's been possessed. She tries to jump on top of him again, and he decapitates her with a conveniently placed shovel again, only it looks way more awesome this time. And Ash buries her.
Linda.
As Ash is on his way to the car, the racing camera gets him again. Obviously it doesn't end there, otherwise the movie would have been about 7 minutes long. Ash gets, pushed, I guess, or maybe something hit him really hard and the camera's just following him as he flies. In any case, he meets a pretty hard landing. Spoiler, Ash really gets put through the ringer in this movie. And Ash is possessed, which is not something I would have expected. As the sun comes up, Ash goes back to normal. This is kind of consistent since all the chaos in the first movie happened at night. So, Evil Ash is kind of a werewolf type situation. In any case, it's too much for Ash and he passes out for an unspecified amount of time. Once he wakes up, he tries to get out of Dodge, but the bridge is out. Again. Only this time what's left resembles a claw. Technically it did in the first one too, but it's easier to see here.
I gotta get a grip of myself.
Good luck with that. Also, he must have spent most of the day passed out, because now the sun is going down again. I actually really like this shot. I know you can tell it's green screen, but it still looks cool. But now that nighttime has returned, so has the racing camera. I swear, Ash is made of iron. Case in point, he just busted through a door. Ash gets chased upstairs before the camera finally loses track of him and gives up. Surprisingly quickly, which is probably the only stroke of luck he's ever going to get. Meanwhile, Annie, Professor Nobi's daughter, is getting off a plane with some previously missing pages from the Necronomicon, which she plans on taking to the cabin so she can translate them.
Is everything all set with my father?
Well, it should be, but I haven't spoken with him in a week.
Back at the cabin, Ash is getting a brief respite from the chaos, but he apparently hears something, so he goes to investigate. To find that the piano is playing itself. Which apparently reminds him of his girlfriend. Aww. He looks out the window to see his dead, headless girlfriend, who's been decomposing pretty quickly, start dancing around, nude. Though there aren't any visible naughty bits, so I don't need to censor it. I just say again how I love stop motion and how it makes everything look so creepy? Jump scare! And apparently he imagined all that? Ash is a multi-layered character. You can never quite decide whether to feel bad for him or laugh at him. The whole damn movie is like this. Or not.
Hello, lover.
The head bites onto his hand and does not let go for anything, resulting in some pretty amazing slapstick. So he eventually gets out to the shed and traps the head in a vise.
You're going down.
It turns out that the chainsaw is missing because the body has it. Just isn't an Evil Dead movie if Ash doesn't get a face full of rancid blood. This thing kind of bobs and slides around like a Muppet. I highly suspect that the body ends in a stick that someone is waving around from below the camera's line of sight. And now they're basically just whacking Bruce Campbell with it. I'm not sure if it was done that way to be funny or not, but it is anyway. He eventually gets the chainsaw and is about to go to town on the head.
Please don't hurt me.
When she pulls the same trick from the first movie where she pretends to be back to normal. And just like possessed Cheryl in the first movie, it doesn't bother to keep it up and gets butchered. They even repeat the effect from the first movie where a light bulb gets splashed with blood and it turns the whole room red. Well, in the first movie it was a projector, but same idea. In reality, I think blood is too thick and viscous to have that effect, but I still think it's pretty cool. I love how he puts that little chain on the flimsy door, because that would really keep it in if it's not dead. Ash ends up looking in the mirror again, but the result is different this time.
We just cut up our girlfriend with a chainsaw.
I think the best scares in these movies are the ones that could just as easily be all in Ash's head. Attaboy, Ash, you show that mirror who's boss. Poor Ash barely has time to breathe before his hand suddenly becomes possessed and starts attacking him. Holly must have given him Peterson's arm.
Can you place bets? My bet is on this arm.
Give me back my hand!
I don't know how to tell you this, Ash, but hands don't need to breathe. To be fair, they normally don't move by themselves either. Man, Bruce Campbell is a master of physical comedy. I like how the hand can talk, or make some kind of vocal noises anyway. Anyway, the hand manages to inch Ash across the ground in an attempt to pick up a meat cleaver. But Ash gets it just in time.
That's right. Who's laughing now?
You and all the furniture in a few minutes. So the chainsaw is conveniently within reach, so he picks it up and does what he has to do. Meanwhile, Annie and her boyfriend/research partner, Ed, are on their way to the cabin when they run into two rednecks named Jake and Bobby Joe. It does take place in Tennessee. There's some friction, but they offer to take them to the trail that bypasses the bridge, presumably the one that Scott found near the end of the first movie, for money. Back at the cabin, the hand is still alive, so Ash traps it under a bucket and weighs it down with a stack of books. The top one being A Farewell to Arms. Good one. Ash is dressing the wound with what looks like a piece of curtain and duct tape. Talk about taking a level and badass, when the hand gets away. I'm having Addams Family movie flashbacks. This hand is likely a lot less helpful than Thing. Jesus, eat your heart out, Wes Craven. I like the Home Sweet Home sign. That's a nice touch. So Ash breaks a chair and... apparently the deer head trophy on the wall found that hilarious. And that sets off the lamp. and the bookshelves. And, well, laughter is contagious. Just take a moment and think about the fact that this is a thing that happens in this movie. Someone came up with this idea, it got written into a script, and then it was filmed and edited. And I know that's something people usually mean in a negative way, but I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just so off the wall that it's hard to imagine the thought process that went behind it and the fact that it made it into the finished product. For what it's worth, apparently it started off with a prop guy making the lamp bounce up and down and laugh like Popeye, and the idea went from there. And the hand hunting resumes. Just in time for everyone to arrive and Jake to knock poor Ash to the floor. Ash puts up a good fight for having only a single fist as a weapon until Ed holds him down so Jake can beat him unconscious.
You gonna be alright, honey?
Apparently he had accidentally shot Bobby Joe in the shoulder.
You know this son of a bitch!
Uncalled for, dude.
My God. Where are my parents?
Well, to be fair, Annie and Ed went there to meet her parents, who appear to be gone, and there's only a stranger around who is covered in blood, not to mention the bloody chainsaw. It's easy to see how they could get the wrong idea.
I made a mistake.
So no one bothers to question Ash or anything, he just gets unceremoniously dumped into the cellar through the trap door. Ow. Well, again, I'm pretty close to the halfway point, and as freaking crazy as this movie is already, it hasn't even really picked up steam yet. So if you haven't seen Evil Dead 2 yet, go watch it before coming back from the break.
It's only been a few hours since I've translated and spoken aloud the first of the demon resurrection passages from the Book of the Dead.
They listen to more of the tape, and it reveals that Professor Noby's wife, Henrietta, Annie's mother, became possessed after he recited the incantation. So he buried her in the cellar. Okay, so you know how Ted Raimi shows up in nearly everything that Sam Raimi makes? In the first movie, you couldn't really spot him because he was basically used as a stand-in whenever one of the main actors couldn't make it to the filming. In this movie, that's Ted Raimi as possessed Henrietta. Not to ruin the scene for you, but if you look really close, even with all that makeup, you can kinda tell. Take your time with that fucking lock, Jake. Jesus. And Ash is lifted out by the face. So there's a struggle as possessed Henrietta tries to get out, and Ash closes the lid on its head. Fun fact, as darkly hilarious as I find that now, I saw that clip out of context once when I was a kid, in some show about horror movies that my mom was watching, and it messed me up bad. I also get a kick out of seeing people fight off a demon by punching and kicking it in the face. I'm almost surprised that Ash didn't punch out Jake after that as a belated payback for the beating he gave him earlier. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, now that things have calmed down for the moment, Ash tries to bring them up to speed on everything.
Nobody goes out that door! Not till daylight!
I seriously can't get over how patient Ash is with this guy. I guess having humans around him makes him feel more sane, even if a couple of them are idiots.
Unlock these chains. Quickly.
Now it's Henrietta's turn to mess with everyone's head from under the trapdoor like Cheryl did in the first movie.
You were born September 2nd, 1962.
She's better at it, though.
That thing in the cellar is not my mother.
And suddenly Ed is possessed. And here's another thing they're borrowing from the first movie. Originally it was Cheryl. Poor Bobby Joe, everything bad happens to her. I mean, I know she was a brat earlier, but she doesn't deserve half the crap that gets thrown at her. Jake gets knocked out, but Ash gets an axe and dismembers the shit out of him. Once things calm down again, Jake notices that the trail they used to get there is gone.
It's so quiet.
Talk about tempting fate.
What the hell is that? Maybe something trying to force its way into our world.
So now the noise seems to be coming from a specific room, so eventually they all go to check it out. It turns out to be the ghost of Annie's father. Apparently the pages of the book she brought have the incantation that will dispel the evil forces.
Take my soul in your own life.
Jake and Bobby Joe had been holding hands, but Bobby Joe gets so freaked out that she runs off into the forest by herself at night. Kinda like Cheryl did in the first movie. There's no rape though, at least as far as what is shown. Still pretty messed up though.
Where the hell is she?
Jake has been an asshole up until now, but I actually feel sorry for him at this point.
We gotta go out there and find her.
If she went out in those woods, you can forget about it.
Ash seems cold, but he speaks the truth.
What is that?
So they come across an image in the book pages of a hero from the sky who has a chainsaw for a hand.
He was prophesied to have destroyed the evil.
Didn't do a very good job.
Anyway, she finds the info she was looking for.
Will make this dark spirit manifest itself in the flesh. And the physical manifestation of this dark spirit can be forced back into the rift.
But Jake has other ideas.
I'm running this show now.
I take it back. I don't feel sorry for you anymore, idiot.
Move. You're nuts.
It's pretty bad when even Ash thinks you're nuts. So now everyone is forced to go outside and delay their progress because Bobby Joe and Jake are idiots. They're why we can't have nice things. And Evil Ash returns. Well, when I wanted Ash to beat up Jake, that's not exactly what I had in mind, but I'll take it. Except that now he's after Annie. Damn, possessed Ash is legitimately scary. That dagger looks familiar. And Jake gets stabbed. And gets the door slammed on him a couple times.
Pull this damn thing out of me!
Damn, that had to hurt.
Check the windows, he's probably right.
And he gets pulled into the cellar by possessed Henrietta. Sucks to be Jake. He really brought it on himself, though. If he just listened to Ash in the first place, the evil might be gone by now. Speaking of which... And now it's Ash's turn to throw someone else across the room. But just when you think Annie's done for... Linda's pendant brings him back. There are obviously a lot of people who get possessed in these movies, yet Ash is the only one to ever be able to fight it off. That's how freaking awesome he is. Of course, Annie was unconscious, so she didn't see any of that.
That thing is gone! Are you listening to me? Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm all right! I'm all right.
That's debatable.
If we're gonna beat this thing, we need those pages.
Then let's head down into that cellar and carve ourselves a witch.
So Ash goes into the shed, gets some tools, and rigs the chainsaw so it'll fit over his arm. He even hooks the end of the starting cord to his shirt so he can start it up with a quick motion of his arm. And while he's at it, he saws the shotgun in half so he can wield it one-handed. Wait for it.
Groovy.
And the Ash we know and love is born. Like 18 minutes before the end of the movie. Oh well. So Ash goes down into the cellar. And check out this Easter egg. That's Freddy's glove. It was added as a response to a scene in Nightmare on Elm Street where Nancy is trying to stay awake by watching The Evil Dead, which was Wes Craven's response to there being a The Hills Have Eyes poster in the cellar in the first movie. Good times. And after finding what became of Jake, yikes. He finds the pages and throws them up to Annie.
Nosferatos, Halamimnon, Kanda.
Just keep saying the incantation, Ash will be fine. There's a lot of hair grabbing in this movie. See? Ash is fine.
Let's go.
Ash has had about enough of your shit. So Ash fights it out with possessed Henrietta. You know my first thought when I saw her neck get longer? She's just giving him a bigger target. Not sure why she sounds like a chimpanzee all of a sudden, though. Called it.
Hey, I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul.
Swallow this.
Badass. Aw, I think Ash needed that hug too. Poor guy, he has seen some shit. So now everything just goes to hell.
I only completed the first of the passages! And that was to make the evil a thing of the flesh!
You might want to go back to reciting that incantation, Annie. So the evil has taken on a form that is so horrific that looking at it causes Ash's hair to go gray. Annie starts to continue the incantation, but then... God damn it. Congratulations, asshole hand, you win. Shades of Poltergeist. Despite having been mortally wounded, Annie manages to read the final passage. She's dying, but she's still trying to save the world. That's pretty badass.
Victory is ours!
And if Ash is gonna go down, he's gonna go down fighting. Annie manages to finish the passage with her dying breath, causing the portal to open and suck the evil into it, along with Ash's car.
By God.
For God's sake! How do you stop it?
And then eventually Ash. Where he finds himself in the 1300s.
Slay the beast! 'Tis a deadite!
Yeah, it took long enough for the movies to tell us, but human bodies possessed by demons are known as deadites. Speaking of which... Ash does not miss a beat.
Hail he who has come from the skies to deliver us from the terrors of the deadites!
No!
Poor guy cannot get a break. The end. So that was Evil Dead 2. You know, I did like Evil Dead, and I give it credit for having a great atmosphere and being legitimately creepy. But I'm okay with this movie retconning it. A lot of what they redid actually improved on it, but there are a lot of nods to the first movie too. It's interesting watching the first movie again after having seen this one. You're more likely to notice that the deer head trophy is in the focus in one shot in the first movie, but they don't do anything with it like they did in the sequel. Then there's the mirror turning to water in the first, which becomes Ash's reflection coming to life and strangling him in the second. Not to mention Ash picking up a chainsaw but not doing anything with it in the first, and we know how that went. Another interesting difference is that Evil Dead had a slow build, but when things start to happen, it just becomes relentless non-stop horror and action. But Evil Dead 2 builds much more quickly, then calms down for a few minutes, and then the horror and action comes in waves. And yet it still manages to build as things get more and more crazy. It doesn't have the really creative camera work like in the first movie, but honestly, this movie doesn't need it with how much else is going on. It's also great seeing how Ash has changed as a character. In the first movie, he was fairly useless until he absolutely had to defend himself to survive. And even though it took him a while, he more than stepped up to the plate. In this movie, he's left alone within the first 7 minutes, and he has to toughen up fast to survive. By the end of the movie, he's leveled up to this almost Rambo-like figure. But the thing I like about how Bruce Campbell portrays him is that no matter how physically tough he is, the horror never stops getting to him. He still screams, and the trauma of what he's experiencing is written all over his face. Even in the bizarre laughing scene, his laughter dissolves into screaming and then sobbing. Not only has he kept his humanity, but he pretty much reaches Iron Whoopi status. He can kick some serious ass, but he's still a tortured soul. But yeah, I don't think it's too bold of a statement to say that Evil Dead 2 is the best installment of this trilogy. It's completely over the top and ridiculous in all the best ways possible. It adds a lot of comedy without forgetting that it's also supposed to be a horror film. If you only see one movie out of this trilogy, it should be this one. And that's about all I have to say about Evil Dead 2. Go watch it.
Thank you.